Good morning and welcome to the Dairy Bush field. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to sample out here and where to sample. You see where I'm standing right now, I'm quite deep in grass, tall grasses, and goldenrod, tons and tons of goldenrod. This is generally quite a hard place to look at, so I'll try and find you other spots. If you take a look up the slope there, you see that kind of grassy area where there's it's a bit more open. Let's see, it's right about here. That might be a good place to sift, and so let's explore and see how that goes. So this little patch underneath me here, there's a whole bunch of moss, some strawberries, it's a mixture. So we're going to take another shot here. So cutting out the cube, little rectangle of soil, and that mixed patch of moss and strawberries and other things, not a monoculture of grass. Sift it up a few times. If you're me, then you take off your glasses so you can look nice and close. Okay, bingo, tons and tons of little tiny solenopsoids. So what you're gonna see here, so you've got your featherweight forceps. I've thrown them in for scale, and you're looking through. Can you see them? Let's zoom in a bit. There, I can see hundreds and hundreds of tiny little yellow ants. Here's my finger for scale. And this is Solenopsis. So this is the one that is kind of the characteristic field ant that you're going to focus on. So what you would do is take some of these little tiny solenopsoids, pinch them lightly in between your forceps, and drop them into your dry tube. So when you're pinching them up with the forceps, you gotta remember what you're looking to do is not damage the ant. As much as you can. What you'll find is that an ant that you injure is either won't survive until the experiment, or it'll succumb at a much colder temperature than it normally would. So hundreds and hundreds of ants in there, and I didn't collect them all, but what you'll see a little bit in there is there's like a half dozen ants. And from a colony, and I know it's a colony because there's lots of eggs in there as well, little white dots, that's kind of enough. So each individual ant you'll then do the CTmax of, and you've got 5 or 6 from this event here. So what else do you need to record at this event? Well, you've got your notebook. So we're going to say, in your field notes, everything that you could possibly want to know about this place, because this is your time machine, remember. You can't get back to this place in time except via whatever you write down here. So I'm going to say today's date and the time. Now you've also got this infrared thermometer gun that I sent. So we're going to take the temperature of the soil that we dug out, 22.9. 22.9 degrees Celsius. I'm going to call this field 1. That just as a name for today, because the next thing I'm going to do with this GPS unit, and that you can use with your phone, is to write down the exact latitude and longitude that you collected at. 43.52543, sorry, 7, negative 80.23926, 328 and 3. 328 is the elevation, and 3 is a measure of the positional error. So every measurement that you take should have latitude, longitude, elevation, and a positional estimate of error. The critical ones are the lat and the long. And then you're also, you see in each of these tubes, or you'll see in a photo if you can't see it in the video, there's an individual alphanumeric. So this is MAS 072812. 12, and I say solenopsis, and some estimate of the number of ants that are in there. If you saw different caste types like workers or queens or males, you can write that down. These are all workers, which is kind of presumed. And then I'm going to put that not in my pocket because that's hot. I'm going to put it in another bag inside of my little collection bag here. I'm going to replace the soil back into the divot. And then I'm going to make sure that I've got all the things around me before I leave. This is one of the things that can definitely happen as you're standing here and you're like, okay, on, and then you don't realize until your next collection site that you left the forceps. So you want to make sure you get practice getting like a standard. So my forceps are going to go in my pocket. I've got empty tubes, the next tubes in my pocket. I've got my newly collected ant here, and then we'll go along. So the field stuff, that's basically it. It's practice finding the spots that work, and it's practice being gentle and collecting live things into a dry tube. But that just comes with repetition, and then recording the data in a standardized way. So I'll show you a PDF of what my very sparse notebook has looked like over this COVID period of collecting here in the dairy bush. So you can try and emulate that. And then make sure that you scan it at the end of every collection day so that you can send me a copy and you've got a digital copy yourself. So we're in the forest now, you can see. I've got my headlamp on to take a look at the kind of place that you're going to find a phenogaster. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in a log, it can be in the ground, but the log is a great place. And so if I take my shovel in there, you can see that. So I'm taking the tree, some of the dead decaying wood where the colony is, and some of the stump underneath it, soil underneath the stump. Quick sift, because we know they're in there. So, pair of ants, or each ant, into a tube. The top of the tube has a little plug of cotton matting, and you make that moist so they don't desiccate in there. Then you set up your sous vide and your tripod here. And this has all been preceded by kind of laying out your samples and another pair of featherweight forceps to put one in each. And your notebook. And then basically what you're going to do is start the timer to record a minute at every 0.5 degrees Celsius, and record also the time on the video that it says. And as long as you do that, your video is kind of referenced. Every temperature will be a known time. You record all those in your notebook. Here's another example from last week for me. And I've jotted in my observations in pen where I see a shudder or a spasm from that ant, and then I go back and secondarily check those later on the video. And we're ready to go.